Good morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good
Fabulous as
morning.
always.
Good
Yay!
morning.
Good
Good
to be in
morning.
26.
Yes, 2026. And it's great to be back. Many of us were in
Yes.
California, and what a great time, seeing everyone. But we did bump a week. We weren't on Voices of Health Point last week, but we're ready to get going this week for sure. And we're here in mid-January. We're already in our preamble, kind of talking about the different backgrounds that people have on their Zooms. Some are in Florida with a beautiful background. Some of us are in Michigan where just the sound of it outside right now is intimidating. You don't even have to go outside. You just have to listen to the wind blowing, and that's enough. But we're going to get going. For those that are new to Voices of Health Point, this is basically once a week, except when we're traveling or something, where we get together on Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, much earlier for those of you in Mountain or Pacific, but those that want to join live, it's 1 hour from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Those that don't join live can always catch these episodes on our YouTube channel called Voices of Health Point. So we typically start off by some, docket items, as we call them, some topics that some of us want to go through. And then we get into the ever effervescent round robin of discussion that kind of comes in after those docket items. So with that, I'm going to get rolling on my docket item, which is going to be teeth, the hidden window to whole body health. After myself, we'll have Kathy Munoz that will be doing a docket item called Pushing Through, Progress, Not Perfection. And then her husband, David Munoz, is going to be unpacking a topic, what I didn't know about beans. Looking forward to that. And then Carol Zampa has a docket item called Small Habits, Big Results. It's about a book that she referenced. And so it's undoubtedly going to be a lot of fun going through those docket items and then kicking into our kind of our round robin. And I'm going to go ahead and do a mute all here before we get going, and just bear with me. And there we go. Sometimes there's just some inadvertent background where you almost can't help it. There can be just background noise, no problem. So with that, I'm going to get going. And first of all, I want to comment that the content shared here is for informational and educational purposes only. Is not intended as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. Our discussions draw on wellness concepts similar to those found in the HealthPointe methodology, which we hold in high regard. The ideas presented are independently developed and do not represent or speak on behalf of the HealthPointe brand. Okay, with that, I'm going to get into something titled Teeth, the Hidden Window to Whole Body Health. Imagine a dentist in the 1920s and 1930s who noticed something strange in his Cleveland practice. Patients were arriving with more cavities, narrower jaws, and crowded teeth than ever before. Instead of just filling holes and moving on, this doctor, Dr. Weston A. Price, who earned his Doctor of Dental Surgery degree from the University of Michigan School of Dentistry, asked a bigger question. Why are we seeing so much degeneration now? Price didn't stop at the chair. He packed up his camera and traveled the world, documenting the dental health of isolated people still eating their traditional diets. Swiss mountain villagers, Pacific Islanders, Australian Aboriginal groups, Native Americans, African tribes, places where modern processed food hadn't yet arrived. What he found was striking. In these groups, tooth decay was almost non-existent, often 0 cavities per person, even with no toothbrushes or fluoride toothpaste. Jaws were broad and well-formed, teeth straight and strong, faces balanced and robust. Then he photographed the same communities after they adopted refined flour, sugar, canned goods, and vegetable oils. The next generation showed dramatic changes. Narrow arches, crooked teeth, rampant decay, and even changes in facial structure. One study he conducted compared siblings born before and after the dietary shift. Older children had wide palates and perfect alignment. Younger ones had the telltale crowding and misalignment we now accept as normal. Price documented this in his 1939 book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, filled with hundreds of photographs that still make people pause. The contrast is visual and undeniable. So what was the magic ingredient in those traditional diets? Price identified 4 key fat-soluble nutrients working together. Vitamin A, primarily from liver, eggs, and dairy. Vitamin D, from sunlight, fish, and animal fats. Minerals such as calcium and phosphorus, abundant in bone broth, raw dairy, and seafood. Vitamin K2, what at that time he called activator X, found in butter from grass-fed cows, organ meats, and fermented foods. These nutrients didn't just prevent cavities, they directed minerals into bones and teeth while keeping them out of arteries and soft tissues. Without K2, calcium can deposit in wrong places. With it, teeth and jaws develop wide, strong arches that support straight teeth and proper breathing. Modern research echoes this. Studies link low vitamin D levels to higher cavity rates in children, up to 47% increased risk in some cohorts. Vitamin K2 supplementation has been shown to improve dental mineralization in animal models, enhancing hydroxyapatite crystal formation, and epidemiological data consistently show that populations with high intake of fat-soluble vitamins from animal sources have lower rates of dental decay and better craniofacial development. Here's the part that flips conventional thinking. Price found that even flawless oral hygiene couldn't compensate for missing nutrients. In groups eating nutrient-poor modern diets, decay appeared quickly, even in people brushing diligently, because the teeth were structurally weaker from the inside out. Enamel forms during development, but even in adults, saliva can remineralize early lesions if the right minerals and vitamins are circulating. When they're not, decay wins. Teeth aren't dead rocks in our mouths. They're living mineralized tissue, constantly in subtle exchange with the bloodstream. Picture them as dynamic structures, much like bones that remodel over time. The outer enamel is the hardest substance in the body, made of hydroxyapatite crystals, while dentin underneath provides resilience and cementum covers the roots. Inside, the pulp acts as a nerve center with blood vessels delivering nutrients, and periodontal ligament anchors everything in the jawbone. Specialized cells like odontoblasts keep laying down secondary dentin for protection, healing microscopic cracks if the body's got the fuel. This setup requires 3 main inputs for peak performance. Raw minerals like calcium and phosphorus for building blocks, biochemical signals such as parathyroid hormone and fat-soluble vitamins to direct the process, and metabolic support from good circulation, pH balance, and immune factors to keep the environment optimal. When these align, teeth resist bacteria like Streptococcus mutans, which produce acids from sugars that can't penetrate a well-mineralized surface. For adults, this means hope. Even if early nutrition wasn't ideal, we can still influence remineralization. Research shows that shifting to nutrient-dense diets can halt or reverse early decay. One study found that adults supplementing with vitamin D and K2 saw a 20 to 30% improvement in enamel density over 6 months. Avoiding acidic, sugary foods helps maintain saliva's slightly alkaline pH, preventing demineralization, while incorporating bone broth or fermented items boosts these key minerals and vitamins. Teeth need metabolic support too. Think energy production and blood flow to keep the pulp vibrant. Chronic stress or poor sleep can disrupt this, but balanced lifestyles promote resilience. Dr. Price emphasized active, low stress traditional ways that sustain lifelong health. Today, we see parallels in how metabolic flexibility buffers against degeneration. For those of us in HealthPointe, this perspective is empowering. Our 6-week structure, Shifting Fuel Sources, emphasizes whole food principles supported by Nutrilite's broad spectrum phytonutrients and targeted vitamins. This mirrors nutrient density Price observed in thriving traditional groups. Clients often report clearer skin, steadier energy, and better recovery as cycles progress. Strong teeth and jaws are just one visible sign of deeper systemic resilience, perhaps explaining why some notice fewer dental issues or even improved gum health alongside metabolic gains. Price's work reminds us, health isn't about fighting decay with more scrubbing. It's about feeding the body the raw materials and signals it expects. Eat like your ancestors did when they were healthy, and the body often knows exactly what to do, whether you're preventing cavities in your kids or strengthening your own smile as a grandparent. So the next time you smile in the mirror, remember, your teeth are telling a story about what you've been feeding your cells. Let's keep writing a strong one. Okay, that's kind of a fun. I thought it was kind of fun, kind of very specific. I can't remember us talking much about teeth. Of course, the parallels in this, Carol Zampa, I wanted to keep giving shout outs as I was going through putting this narrative piece together. You've done, one specific episode I can remember where you talked so much about bone health. And of course, in dental topics, we're kind of talking the same thing. And particularly as it relates to the D3 and the K2. I kept wanting to give a shout out to you on some of those things, but anyhow, anybody have any comments, questions as we move along here? And
I
do
think
remember yes, go
I,
ahead,
I
Carol.
think that is such an excellent article, and it is so now because that article touches on things that I'm sure has crossed your desk, crossed my desk about the oral care and the importance of nutrients. Because, like you said, it starts from inner body. You can do all the topical things you want, but if your inner body is devoid of nutrition, and that goes back to the supplementation in our program. Oh, that was a really, really good article, Eric. And it really kind of, I think more and more holistic dentists are realizing this also. I know you've been working with some, and yeah, it's a very good article and spot on. And also, I don't know about the rest of the United States, but in the state of Florida, fluoride has now been taken out of the water. Now, I don't know whether that's gone in yet, but it is illegal to put fluoride in the water in Florida. Now, when that kicks in, or maybe it's already kicked in, which I think has been a controversy for a long, long time, and still a lot of people are not agreeing with it, but it's a chemical that is not good, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's great. And I was looking into some of the Nutrilite products that, when we talk about, first of all, on a macronutrient basis, just in terms of our breakfast, lunch, and dinner, in HealthPointe, we're talking about, whole food. So we're getting so much of our, you know, vitamins and minerals and so forth, things that our body needs for, total system improvement, but specifically in terms of our teeth, but then supplementing, and of course, our vitamin D um, does have the K2. I believe it's 2,000 IU's of vitamin D and 20 micrograms of K2, and then we've got the CalMag. It has the vitamin D2. We even have the gummies. And yeah, so definitely, definitely have a robust, access to those micronutrients and supplementations for sure. For
You
those of
know,
us that don't have that sunshine that you, Carol and Laurel are taunting us with.
yeah, but we're still covered up somewhat. There is one other thing that you brought up real briefly in that article, but it really rang for me was the Begin product. You talked about fermented products, and I will tell you that if I sent out a survey of how many people eat sauerkraut and kombucha, I don't even know how to pronounce it, kefir, some of those probiotic wonderful things, how many of those have that as part of their regular diet? I would venture to say, along with me, probably very few. And what I loved about our Begin product, which took me, I'm going to be honest, a whole year to fall in love with, I just didn't realize it, but that has everything in it, everything for the whole gut fermented process, all the things that you swore you would never eat just because maybe for whatever reason they don't agree with you or whatever. You just take a scoop of that in the morning, throw your little probiotic in there, whether it be the stress release one or the little sachet balance within, and you have all the probiotics and you don't have to worry about eating sauerkraut. If you like it, great, go for it. But if you don't, that product is really, really good. It's one of my all-time favorites. It only took me a year.
I totally agree. And Emily and I are, odd man and woman out on that. I hear people, as you do, Carol, and I think justifiably so, comment on the taste. I don't know. We're just odd ducks. We love it.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just a bit of the like a ginger kick to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally look forward to it. But the point that you're making, and I had this discussion with somebody recently, is the consistency that you can get, right? And consistency is the key to so many things in life. Do you read a book once every decade or do you read 15 minutes a day? Do you take, a walk or exercise robustly at a gym once a week or do you do 10 to 15,000 steps a day? This consistency. And when it comes to being able to get that, um, that content that you would get maybe in, like you say, in a sauerkraut or kombucha or kimchi. I've still got a jar of kimchi in the refrigerator that even with my best efforts, I think it's been in there. I mean, I'm scared to tell anybody or tell myself how long it's probably been in there. I think it stays, pretty well, but you just don't get the consistency with dipping into that kimchi, right? I mean, I'm not going to do that every day. I'm not going to do that for the next 10, 20 years. But the Begin product, man, I love putting a scoop of that right in, just kind of a coffee cup of some water, stir it up with a stick and slug it down, and I like it.
It goes back to this little book that I might touch on today about the small habits, but when I decided, and I can thank Sharon Webb for it because she just briefly on one of our conversations mentioned that she and Jerry were having their Begin, and I thought, you know what, I got to get back there because I know how good a product it is. And I was always taking the probiotics, but not the beginning. But in the thing in this book, one of the things is these tiny habits, and I established a habit. I get out of bed. I have the rhodiola focus and energy sitting right there by my bedstand with my bottle of water. Slug that down, drink some more slugs of water, go in the kitchen, throw the water in the Keurig for my green tea. And there's my glass sitting there with the Begin and a little sachet of Balance Within. Dump it in there if you want. We have wonderful twist tubes. Put one or two drops in there if you don't like the green taste. Stir it up, and while your coffee or your tea is going through the system, Begin is going through your system. And I'm tell you, you get in that habit first thing in the morning. It's amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I wouldn't have the fermented stuff either. But as I'm looking at the container here, it's the fermented grass blend. And I mean, think about it, organic barley grass, organic alfalfa grass, organic oat grass, wheat grass, whole plant leaf, aerial parts, organic spirulina
Yep.
powder, matcha tea powder, and not to mention additional fruits and vegetable concentrates, and the allspice of the organic ginger root powder, fermented organic cinnamon bark powder. We all know how great that is. The fermented fennel seed powder. I mean, it's an incredible product. And I too, every single morning, this is what I take my vitamins with when I get
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
love
love
it.
that, Pam. Thanks for going through that list there. That is a fresh reminder of everything that's in there. And it's been a while since I've read that list, and it's a robust list. Bam, you get that, instead of imagine if you had to start the morning with a spoonful of kimchi every morning.
It happened. Well, where did you get all that stuff anyway? I mean, she had a list as long as your arm. Where would you find all that stuff and then put it together? It just would not happen.
Right. And yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thanks, Pam. Anyone else on the general commentary on teeth or anything? We'll keep things moving along into our next docket items. If
Um, I did want to mention one thing. Our dentist is one of those holistic dentists, and she has always worked on the breath and the breathing path, the airways. In fact, she teaches on that. She even went to a seminar, I believe, with Dr. Stu Men and with dreams or sleep studies and so forth. And she too said that our nutrition is so important for opening up the airway passes, for the teeth health and everything. And she is really, really well versed in all of this stuff. So it's true. And she went to U
you,
of M as well.
And Dr.
Pam, is
Stuman,
it
by the
sorry, real quick, Pam, is your dentist that you're referring to, is her practice in Holt?
Not whole. No, this
Okay.
one's in Saline.
Okay, okay. All right. Because yeah, I thought for a moment there you might be referencing a dentist that I work very closely with, a holistic dentist in Holt. So,
Oh,
but we can chat on a sidebar later about that.
okay.
But great. Sounds like they're in the same mindset, which is great. And this one actually, she shares the stage with Dr. Robert Lustig, who is like a personal friend of hers, and we've
Wow.
referenced him quite a few times. Carol, sorry to interrupt you. You were
no,
saying?
not at all. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just wanted to say that Pamela mentioned Dr. Stu Mann, and he is going to be our keynote speaker for our next Monday Night Lean Team. Not this Monday, next Monday. The was it 26th, I think? He is going to be our speaker. So you really want to
Wow.
promote that. And the topic is going to be um, uh, what medical doctors take on HealthPointe. And I think
Mm,
a lot of people would really love that because he's a true medical doctor. He's not even what you consider, even though he's holistic in his practices and neutral and the whole thing. He is a very, very well respected medical doctor from California. So he's going to be our speaker.
wow. Looking forward to that for sure. That's going to be fantastic. Um, Super exciting. Um, all right, Kathy.
All right.
Oh, David, you're saying your lips are moving, but we can't hear you.
I was just going to quickly share that when I first got in the business, and I thought it was the Glister toothpaste that was working so well. And it was probably the double X that I was taking with the Glister toothpaste.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all it's all important, right? And to be clear, we're not saying everybody stop brushing their teeth. Please, for the sake of all of us that might hang out in a crowd, brush your teeth. But and I'll be like fully transparent here. I guess it's relevant, so it'll make a point. I did just through a variety of factors, kind of being disconnected from a dentist that I'd used for years. I went without seeing a dentist for years and years and years and years. I'm going to say we're talking over a decade, and everybody might go, "Oh my gosh," um, but it's true. About 2 years ago. So anyhow, the point with that, you would think, oh my gosh, you know, you've got all kinds of problems and blah, 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 blah. Well, a couple of years ago, I got re-engaged in things, and, set up an appointment, went in to the dentist, and yeah, they needed a good cleaning for sure, to be clear on that, but no cavities. I'm still part of the no cavity club. I have no cavities and no fillings. Okay. So the point of that is not to go without dental care and, cleanings. That's not my point. I'm back in the rhythm and happy to do so. But the point is that, to your point too, David, is I think, given the nutrition that I was getting the, certainly the double X that you reference and all the other nutrients, I certainly wasn't lacking in, vitamin D and K2, right? I certainly wasn't lacking in some of these key micronutrients that were important there. And yeah, they're like, well, good news. When they finished up cleaning, they're like, you're still a member of the no cavity, no filling club, so there's a lot of, I guess I can substantiate that. Again, don't recommend going a decade without seeing your dentist, but just get good nutrition, I guess is the point. All right, Kathy, tell us about progress, not perfection.
All right. So, of course, as I said before, I get the emails from James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. And yesterday I was reading his email, and this was one of his quotes that hit me. And as soon as it did, I texted you guys just like last time. Somewhere at this very moment, someone appears to be doing better than you. Their progress is faster. Perhaps their business grows more quickly, or their career is advancing rapidly. Maybe dating is easy for them, or their progress in the gym seems to come effortlessly. In any domain, there is always another life that shimmers more than your own. But comparison is a poor use of energy. You were not meant to inhabit someone else's story. You have your own work to do. The goal is not to beat their life. The goal is to live your life. Keep your eyes on your own paper, stay on the path, and continue forward, even when progress feels slow. So I read this and I was like, oh, wow. It really spoke to me, and I thought about it, and I thought about it in terms of the holiday season and people in their HealthPointe journeys, and that maybe people kind of went off the rails during the holidays, and maybe in every aspect of your life during the holidays, things got changed a lot because we're not in our normal routines. And so maybe some of the things we were doing before, December 24th, we weren't doing during December 24th and January 1st, and some people may be down on themselves about that, thinking, oh, I should have done this, or I shouldn't have ate that. And I should have walked. I should have drank some water. You should have, would have, could have, and you can't should have, would have, could have your life away. Okay. And in reading this quote, it just made me, stop and think and a lot of times people will compare yourself to someone else, to whatever, their success is. And, we have this awesome community that we have, and we're always sharing our successes, which is great because we want to be able to encourage everybody. But I didn't want anybody to start thinking like, oh, I could never do that, or, oh, I didn't do that, So it kind of brought that out. And, and then I was just like, this is a new year. Of course, as we've already said, Happy New Year 2026. And New Year's mean new starts. But the really great thing about HealthPointe is every day is a new start. When you step on that scale in the morning, that's a brand new day to be able to do however best you can write your story. And so keeping in mind too, this coming Monday, we have a new week. So we have a new week of whatever week you're in your journey. And there might even be people on this call that are starting their first cycle on Monday. So there's always that idea of that new start and thinking about that, you're responsible for your story. And I remembered back, I think it was at least a year or so ago in one of our early Voices of HealthPointe, Carol had recommended the book Choose Your Story, Change Your Life by Kendra Hall. And I think it was a Network 21 recommended book originally. And I remember, I got it and I pulled it out. It's right here. Okay, this is what it looks like. And I thought, this might be a good time to kind of maybe go through that and kind of help myself to get more grounded as to what I want my story to be. Because however I want my story to be, the bottom line is it's up to me. And again, in thinking about in HealthPointe terms, there we have our focus on our essentials, your snacking and your water. Maybe if you're having difficulty with that, set some timers for yourself on your watch, on your phone, to take a snack every hour and 20 minutes. Put the timer for an hour and 20, that way you got like a 10-minute leeway to get your snack. I do that, especially at work. For drinking water, if you need some kind of a timer to drink your water, or get one of the water bottles that has the ounces on it and you can kind of see where you're going. Of course, our moving, try to get up once every hour a little bit. If you get that 5,000 in before breakfast, great. But, park farther from the door, unless it's frigid Michigan temperatures, then just, walk more inside. But take the stairs, all these little things, taking your supplements. Eric, a long time ago, you shared that you have the Monday through Sunday vitamin thing, where usually people put all their prescription meds, well, we don't need to do prescription meds. So we do all our supplements in them. And by doing that, oh my God, that saved me so much time. And that's such a great habit. And it's an easy way you make sure you take your supplements every day. And then of course, our thinking, the daily messages. What can be better in that app than the daily messages? And you can listen to more than one, really, it's okay. If you're on, day 14 of your journey and you want to go ahead and listen to day 15 and 16, or you want to go back and listen to day 9 or 10, it's your app. It's there for you. It's for what you need. So I just kind of thought, when I read this quote, it resonated with me with everything going on, in my own life and thinking about other people and just kind of how the new year, can unfold. And just, as a reminder and, our buzz phrase, progress, not perfection. Just do a little bit more each time, and then it will become a better habit. And of course, I've got to plug Atomic Habits. But now, Carol, you've got me really intrigued on this new little book. So with that, I'm going to stop because I think she's got a perfect segue for what I was saying. But that's what I wanted to share. Sometimes things hit me, and when they hit me, you're going to get that text. So just expect it.
Thank you, Kathy. I love that. And then such a timely, in a way, almost more timely that this didn't pop in, right into the new year, because, we hear so much around, starting the new year and kind of focusing on that holiday hit, the holiday hit that we all experience. So coming back around it, mid-January here and kind of reflecting on, that December 24th through, January 1st and, how, many of us took a hit, during that, and to not beat yourself up and get back into that progress, not perfection. That's so great. I love that.
I'd like to
Anybody
give a
else?
shout out to Kathy and Dave both, because that had nothing to do with HealthPointe or eating. I think they did marvelously on that. but they had a setback with regards to a medical situation that was supposed to happen. It got rerouted. And talking to Kathy, what a champ. What a champ. And I know Dave goes right along with us. He just didn't happen to be on the call. But the resilience was so beautiful. And I thought to myself, all that comes from the HealthPointe, the community, the reading, the audios. They just, Kathy's words were just, okay, we're rerouting and we got a new date and this and that. And off they went. They didn't sit there and harbor and suck their thumb. And I know many of you have stories like that. It just happened that one was just, I think, yesterday's conversation. So uh, that's what HealthPointe teaches you. And that has nothing to do with weight loss. That has to do with mental attitude and mindset. So shout out to Kathy and Dave and all of you that have similar situations, and you're just whipping right back and saying 2026 is my year.
That's so great. And speaking of David, queuing up David and talking about some things you didn't know about beans. David Munoz, if you're there.
All right. Can you hear me?
Can hear you, yes.
All right. Well, I do want to say that I don't know, honey. I think that, our eggnog shake with Christmas cookies and cinnamon, do we have that every day? Or is that just during the holiday? Well, going back yesterday, I had my car in the shop at Ford, and then I went to go pick it up, but it wasn't ready till 1. So between 1 and 4:30, somewhere in that time frame, I ended up having to go to 2 Krogers and shovel out 2 houses and a couple other things. And I was not in the mood for cooking, so we went out to eat. So Kathy said, "No, you're not cooking. Let's go out." I said, "Okay, good. I'm not in the mood." So went to a restaurant where we ended up Logan's, just to let you know. And I said, you know what? They have a good salad there. They have everything we need. Watch the bread. Don't do that. Kind of things. But overall, it stayed within our diet, or not diet, but HealthPointe program. So then I was talking to the waitress, which has helped us out before, and we were just talking, and it come out on the conversation that she is a vegetarian. And I go, really? So later on, I asked her, I said, so I know that, when I was working at restaurants, I would eat the food there because it's there and they kind of do that as a perk for you guys. I said, working here, how do you get your fiber? And she goes, well, I do. What's that? Protein. I'm sorry, protein. And I go, how do you get your protein, working here? Because pretty much everything at Logan's is like meat. And she goes, well, I eat these, I do different things. And she tells us, and she goes, there's this thing called edamame beans, Edamame. I don't know if you know about it, Eric. Beans and edamame beans. And edamame. Thank you, honey. Edamame beans. So I was looking at this and I'm like, okay, what is this all about? So I did a quick search on it, and I haven't really researched all of it, but it's full of, fiber. So currently it has protein. I'm sorry, protein. It has in the edamame, whatever you want to call it, cooked beans has 17 grams in 1 cup of fiber. I'm like, holy mackerel! And then I not know about this, and then I'm like, okay, maybe there's a reason why. And about 13.8 to 14 grams of total carbs. But actually, that's reduced because of the amount of fiber in it. So you're actually getting total carbs of, like, say, 6 in the end of it. But you don't have to have a whole cup. And the total fat is about 8 grams, a little bit high on that. So you don't want to, go overboard. But I'm thinking, wow, I did not know about these beans. So there's a lot of good things on it that may be helpful for people who, don't necessarily, well, where am I, I'm getting tired of having the same thing. Might be a different option. So I'm going to do some more research on it, but I thought I'd bring it up and see if anybody else have heard about these beans.
What was the protein count on those?
17 grams.
Yeah. So high protein.
They
Yeah,
are
high
also,
protein.
they're great dry roasted for snacks. If you like salty snacks, you can get them in little packages, and they make really good little snacks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and I'm
what
just
she
looking.
does.
Yeah, just picking up on that, Pam and David, the dry roasted 100 grams, trying to think of how much that might be in terms of like a cup or half a cup or 2 cups. I'm not sure what 100 grams looks like, but that's 40 to 46 grams of protein in 100 grams of dry roasted edamame. Um, yeah,
And the fiber.
yeah. In comparison to other beans, um, they are higher in protein than kidney and black beans. Um, let's see. So it leans toward more of a high quality protein profile, similar to animal products, right? We often talk about that, where if we're working with somebody that's a vegetarian, and getting, the protein and kind of more of that complete protein. So apparently it's stronger in that front. Um,
I think it would be
one
great
cup.
for add-on, add more food days too.
Yeah, yeah, correct. Particularly week 6, right? Where they start introducing that. This is great. Thank you, David, on this. Yeah, 8 grams of fiber in a cup of edamame beans. So you got some really good fiber. It's got great numbers on folate, vitamin K. We just talked about that, and magnesium. So bring on the edamame here. Um, little tip here for anyone that I'm sure everybody is a lot smarter than I am. The first time I ever had these things, you know how you often get them as a little appetizer or something at a restaurant where they'll bring a bowl of them that are kind of like a steamed. Never had them before. I'm with some people that all of you would know, and we were sitting down to a nice dinner, and the wait staff brought out these bowls of edamame beans. I didn't know what they were, but everybody else was reaching into the bowl. I didn't realize that they had the shells on them, so I'm biting into these things with it's like a pea pod, right? And I'm like, dang, these are really chewy, really stringy, and then I looked more closely at the more sophisticated people around me, and they were, of course, popping the beans out of the shell and just eating the beans. So, little tip for those that might struggle with basics like I do sometimes.
Eileen
You know,
Bradley's Eileen
go ahead.
Bradley's is not on today because she just had surgery, by the way. She's doing very well. For those of you that sent her encouraging messages, but she's used edamame with the HealthPointe successfully for a long time. I don't know why it's never been discussed before, but thank you, Dave, for
Well,
that.
that was going to be my question. Why isn't something like that? I mean, I'm sure there's a reason. Why isn't that on our food list? There are no beans on our food list other than like green beans. So just
Might be
curious.
because it's so unique and people are not familiar with it, but I think that's something that we can let Network 21 know about. Again, it could have been recently because of the little bit higher fat content, but it's
Yeah,
just like in nuts. I mean, the nuts are now on the HealthPointe food
right.
list, the very minimal amount because of the fat, but very healthy fat. So, yeah, we probably need to send a little message on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this
I think
actually, the
you
fat content is a healthy fat too. So, I
Yes,
mean,
exactly.
right. Yeah,
That's
and
the other.
it's go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's the other thing to consider is when you are having stuff, consider the quality of what you're having and the benefit to make healthy choices. I'm sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think you hit on probably the number one reason was just that many people don't know what an edamame bean. I mean, I'm still struggling pronouncing the darn thing, but what it is, and
You're not
it's
alone.
Just think of
so
mommy. Just think
mommy,
of your
okay,
mommy. Edamame.
Edamame.
edamame. Look at the teacher coming out in Laurel. I love that. She helps us all,
Well, I
doesn't
had to
she?
teach my husband. He didn't know what that was.
Edamame. All right.
By the
But
way,
I
we
pronounce
invite
it
everybody.
edamama.
We we invite everybody down to Florida because the Joneses and Zampa's favorite restaurant, Sunset Hut, has an edamame salad, Laurel. In case you
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
know, so you
that's
can
right. That's right.
have
No,
that
I do
along with
remember
your
that.
grouper salad.
Well,
Quick
here this
question.
episode comes into being the edamame episode. Thank you, David Munoz.
Quick question. What was the fat content on this? Is this similar to like walnuts?
Let me check on that, David. It looks like it's 8 grams per cup, but let me just check.
And you
Yeah,
probably
that's
wouldn't
what I
need a
got.
cup of
8 grams of
edamame
total
either.
fat in a total cup.
But there's not that much saturated fat, is it? No.
Again, I know my belief is that like nuts are not on the basic menu plan because of the fat content, and you'd rather be burning fat from your body than fat from nuts. That's my only question about this.
Right.
Well, the
Yeah,
total, it
I
said the
think
total fat is 1 gram of saturated fat, 2 grams of non-saturated fat, and 3.3 grams of polyunsaturated fat, including omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids.
yeah. And I think your point is really valid, David Dasso, and that is that, the HealthPointe program, broadly speaking, is how is it framed? It's ketogenic informed. I like that. If for those that are on the Thursday night program, it's uses a ketogenic framework. It's not ketogenic. It's not a keto, but it's ketogenic informed or ketogenic framework. And then it would be adequate protein, not high protein. It's adequate protein, moderate carb, not low carb, moderate carb, and low fat. To your point, David. Yeah. So if you're taking in robust amounts of dietary fat, you're wolfing down a bunch of edamame beans, wrapping it in avocados and sprinkling with a cupful of nuts. Sounds kind of delicious. But anyhow, obviously you're getting a lot of dietary fat, healthy fat, but dietary fat. So if you are in an active 6-week cycle and focus on weight loss, that's going to impair your outcomes, your results, due to your dietary fat that you're taking in. In that example, I'm obviously being extreme. The point being is that we need to be mindful of the amount of fat that we take in. It's not take in nothing, but don't slather yourself in it breakfast, lunch, and dinner if you're focused on weight loss.
It kind of reminds me of the raisins. If you look on the food list under fruits, raisins are on there, and everybody knows raisins are very high in sugar. So if you look at the quantity of raisins, it's very minimal. Somewhere in there on the new updated app, and I'm not exactly sure where it is, but somebody brought it up to me. Nuts are on there, but again, minimal. Minimal. So
They are.
yeah, so then it goes back to the same thing with edamame, and that would be minimal. You're not going to eat a cup of edamame. Well, you wouldn't anyway. Those types of things, small amounts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Dosage makes the poison, right?
Yeah.
Dosage makes the poison. It's you can have just about everything, but just don't have it by the wheelbarrow load. Just don't as they say, strap on the feed bag and pound it.
For nuts, it says almonds, you can have 8 cashews 8, macadamia 4, and walnuts 4.
Yeah.
In that nut list.
I guess the point is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say we're nutty enough.
Well, I guess my point is that everything in moderation, but if you're going to have beans, have the edamame beans.
Well, with those nuts, when I finally saw they were on there, they go, 8. I go 8. Oh, geez. It was kind of like, well, why bother? But if you crunch them up, if you crush them, any of those nuts, it feels like a whole lot more than 8. So that's typically what I'll do if I want to have some. I'll crunch them up, and they just go, put them on a salad or whatever. And I usually only do that on Add More Food days anyway. But anyway, that's just because 8 is not very many. I tried one time. I said, well, I'll just grab a handful. It was like 28 in my hand. I said, okay, that doesn't work. I figured, this is about an ounce. And then I weighed it, and it was like an ounce and a half, I think. I go, that's not too bad, huh? Then I looked and it said, you can have 8. I go, well, that's kind of disappointing. But
proportions.
That's right. One day I will have it. I thought of you, Eric. I just now got back to our house and the trash bins out here. I was going to pull it up, but I've had too many close encounters with trash bins this year or last year. So I'm going to leave it for Al.
Keep your shins away from that trash bin, Laurel.
That's right.
Stay away from the bins.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. I like that tone, Kathy. Step away from the bin. Step away from the bin. For those that don't know, along with Laurel's, I guess maybe it enhances the journey. It certainly makes for a dramatic story. Laurel's journey of 70 pounds of weight loss in your 1-year course of HealthPointe so far, plus or minus. I'm sure I'm directionally correct on those numbers. But it was punctuated by a severe injury on her shin, where basically she filleted her shin wide open and had to recover from that, and just recovered from that, and then was out doing, I think, her walk fortunately not during a walk and talk, or would have traumatized us all, but got attacked by a dog and got a dog bite. I mean, so for those that are wondering what we're talking about, like, step away from the bin, Laurel, step away from the bin.
That's right.
That's what we're referencing.
I crossed, and I love dogs, but I still cross on the other side of the sidewalk. Around here, they all have them on leashes, so I feel better about that. But yeah, I'm a little more cautious now. So anyway,
that's good.
I'm in on Monday night because you're going to hear Laurel. We're going to spotlight her story so you can hear about the filleted leg and the dog bites. God. Doing HealthPointe in spite of it. That's probably the topic.
That dog bite was, it was just, gosh, on the way down here to Florida in the car, from all that sitting, it must have hit a vein, because it's still the one bite. I had 5 holes, but the one bite still bleeds sometimes. So, that was back in, I don't know, September. So anyway, so it was something it's a good story to tell. There you go. I was going to, while I'm on there, go ahead, Carol.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, when Kathy was talking about her stuff, this was the first holiday I went through, because I started last January. And so I didn't know what to expect. And so I didn't crash and burn, but, I gained weight, but I've lost it all and more now since then. So that's, I'm having, but the thing I was kind of reflecting on that. And the thing that I found is that it's about a choice. I've come to learn, I didn't start this way, that it's not the program, although the program is wonderful. But if I focus on the program here and me there, it's the program's fault. I can't do that because of the program or whatever, the food list. But once, somewhere along the line, it became more internalized. And it goes back again to my counseling days, when I'd say to kids, it's all about choices. And so as I went through the holidays before we got there, I said, I'm going to enjoy my holiday. I'm not going to go crazy, but I'm going to choose. But everything I eat, I'm going to choose it, or I'm going to choose not to. But it's a choice. And so I had a little pep talk with myself, and so I chose a lot. I mean, I gained like, I think 2.5 pounds the day after Christmas. I go, oh, goodness sakes. But a lot of it came off pretty quick. But the whole thing of starting over, like Kathy said, every day is a new day. It's just the reason I gained weight was because I chose to. The reason I lost weight was because I chose to. And I think the more I've realized that and internalized that, it's just a lot easier because it's not the HealthPointe program, even though it is the HealthPointe program, but it's me. It's my journey. It's my, and when they were talking the other day on one of the walk and talks at Network 21 about dipping your toe in, I'm thinking I probably dipped my toe in more than I followed the program in some cases, not intentionally, but just because I was a little clueless about stuff. But I do think choice, it always comes back to choices. And so anyway, I would thought when Kathy was talking about that, I said, yep, every day you just start over. And it didn't matter what you did yesterday. It's not going to matter about tomorrow, but what are you choosing today? And so that's what I found. That's all.
I would like to linger on that a little bit, Laurel, because I think you're touching on something that is, in its subtleness, is maybe obvious to everyone, but maybe not so obvious. And Carol, I know you've used terminology like this as well, but compare and contrast, Laurel, like what you're talking about there, like maybe in the context of like cheating versus choice, right? Where people,
right.
say,
there is no cheating.
There is no cheating. Right. You're making
I eat things
a choice.
That are not on the list, but I am not cheating. I made a decision to do that. And sometimes partway through the decision, I go, this is a stupid decision. And then I stop, but not, but it just, I think it helps you mentally, because if you're cheating, then that whole guilt and, oh, I'm bad. And no, I chose to eat, the whipped cream on the whatever it was at Christmas, but it also goes back to environment, because Al and I worked ahead of time to talk about, okay, what are we going to have on the menu when the whole family comes? What are we going to serve? What are we going to have in the house? And a lot of that stuff is not in the house. And we sent a lot of it home when people, brought it, said, okay, here, take this with you because we're not going to eat it, so we got it out of the house quickly. So it's just like the one day. But again, no cheating, just choices.
And that, you're touching on something there where if somebody, and here's why, maybe it's just hitting me, but I think this hopefully is valuable to the group. How many of you have heard people, I'm just saying this, just rhetorically, hear people talking about, oh, I heard somebody say this the other day, isn't there any cheat days in the HealthPointe program? And, of course, for those of us that are very deep in this program and coaching it, you want to, you have to control yourself, not to want to just pull your hair out when you hear that, because it's part of common culture, right? There's where did people come up with this term cheat days, right? Because somewhere, some blurb, some celebrity, some program, some whatever, it got into the common language here in America that if you're on some sort of a health improvement journey, that it's a required element that you have to have cheat days. And I'm not sure how that got in there, but it is important to kind of recognize that. And then what I'm hearing from you, Laurel, is that with a choice, you are in control. There's this feeling like, if you're in a cheat, it's like something happened to me. I fell prey to it. I'm a victim to it. I'm cheating. I'm guilty. I'm feeling horrible about myself. Nobody wants that. And that's not part of the HealthPointe program. But when you say, look,
we are so programmed. We're programmed to do that. I mean, cheating, if you think about it, comes from school. Don't cheat. Don't look at somebody else's paper. There's rules. And when there's rules, then there's ways to break rules. And so that's why a lot of times, I think a lot of people in HealthPointe coaches do a great job of saying, we recommend this, we recommend that. It's not a rule. well, at least I don't think of it as a rule, but I've always been a rule breaker in terms of when I worked, I'd always do things out of the box and people would call me a rebel. But, I think on this, it's simply, it is a choice. It chose to go on HealthPointe. Nobody forced anybody to go on it. Nobody put a gun to my head and said, you need to do this. So everything's a choice, but it's so easy to forget. And it's so easy to blame it on something else because that's what we're used to. No, I didn't cheat. He just happened to move his paper over a little and I saw the answer to number 12. It's kind of like, I just think when there's rules, then there's ways to break them. And if there's guidelines, or as I think of them, curbs, bumpers, you're walking down the street, you got curbs for a reason. You can drive over the curb if you want. Not going to be a very good, thing, but it's there. So if you bump up against the curbs, it gets you back on the road. So yeah, I think cheat days, that's a pretty common term, and I think of it as a choice day. If you're going to call it something, call it a choice day. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be a whole day. It could be a moment.
Right. Right. And then when you do make that choice, you said something else too, where you because you're in control and you're making that choice, when you recognize, okay, this was kind of not a good choice and I'm going to stop it now, right. You kind of make those changes quicker. I think whereas if you're you're in a spiral, you're already feeling crappy about yourself, you're feeling guilty, you tend to spiral further. But if you're in that choice, you're coming to it from a position of control. I made this choice, right. And you know what? I recognize that this was not a good choice, or I'm sufficient with this choice, and I'm going to change it now. You're coming at it from that control standpoint.
And plus the other thing, if you're going to eat something, I'm not advocating this, but like at Christmas, when I had some things that were clearly, they're not on any healthy eating program, right? But I decided ahead of time I was going to have it. I had a smaller portion that I would have normally had. And boy, did I enjoy it because I didn't feel bad about it. I wasn't sneaking it. I was eating it in plain sight and didn't go in the bedroom and eat it or anything. It was just like, and plus I thought it set a good example for I've got a daughter-in-law and some other people who may want to get on HealthPointe at some point. And it said, I can eat it. People say, can you eat that? They always say that. Can you eat that? I go, I can eat anything I want, so I just got to do something as a result of it, So I do think that's, you enjoy it more. If you're going to eat it, you might as well enjoy it. So.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, you all bottle this and get all of your new HealthPointe clients, people that are looking at the program, get them all on Monday night because Laurel is going to go through all of this and we're going to unpack it even more. So I'm glad we're having this conversation today. It wasn't everybody's appetite.
Well, you get your questions right. I'll just answer the questions. Whatever.
No, we're gonna take you off some rabbit holes, as Eric would say.
That's great. There was a somebody that had raised her hand, and I'm so sorry I didn't get to. It looks like she might have popped off of here, but if you're on here still, Sue, I didn't catch your last name. I think she's dropped off. If anybody knows Sue, I think her last name was Roddering or something like that. Apologize if she was.
May have been Bofferding.
Okay. Is she still on here? Sue, are you still here?
She tunes in from California, so she may have had to get off and do something else. Yeah, it's Sue Bufferding.
Sue Bufferding. Well, thank you, Sharon. If you chat with her, tell her I apologize. I wasn't quick enough with the call out, and
of course, yes,
sweet raising her hands. I was almost shocked by it. It's like, who actually raises her hand and puts a little emoji hand raiser. The rest of us just butt in. So anyhow, I'll tell her I apologize, didn't catch her, and hopefully we catch her next time. Speaking of next time, I do think that we are about at our hour mark here. Just about. But Carol, how are you positioned on things here? You got a docket item?
I'm gonna just do a quick one because I butted in the whole time. So that's what happens. These topics get so great. This is just a book that I bought 3 or 4 books over the last few days. And we're talking about small habits. And One of the habits that I have a challenge with is reading at night. And I love to read at night, but I really am challenged with staying alert. And part of it is lighting and different things. So anyway, I moved to another room, just small habit like that, but where the lighting is much brighter, and it made a big difference. But anyway, it kind of tied in with one of the books that I ordered, and it's called Small Habits, Big Results by Evan Schleis, Schleis. And I'm sure this was a takeoff of Atomic Habits because you see the domino effect on the front cover and the puzzle and what have you. But it's really good. I like it because I absolutely think that Atomic Habits is the #1 book. That's without saying. But I think that sometimes a smaller, thinner, bigger print, simpler book as an entry level, sometimes for a brand new person that maybe isn't reading at all, is a little bit more able, they're able to get into it better with bigger print. So it says how tiny changes transform your life. The science-backed method to build good habits, break bad ones, and achieve success. And I'm only about maybe a third of the way, maybe not even a third of the way through the book, but it's really caught my attention because it's a fast read for people. I think of myself as a brand new person on HealthPointe, or making reading a habit as a first time, but it's just a real simple, quick, and easy read. But it talks about really, really small, little, minimal changes that you make because, and this is so relevant now at this time of the year with people and their gym memberships, and I'm gonna lose 100 pounds this year, and I'm gonna exercise 2 hours every day and all that, and then 2 weeks later everything's gone, including the gym membership. Where this says, if you make a cup of coffee, do 1 push-up. I mean, he's happy to be talking about push-ups. If you do, when you do this, drink 3 sips of water to, get that habit of hydration. And all it is this, and in particular, when a person is first getting these habits on HealthPointe, I got to drink water. I got to, do some gentle exercise. I've got to supplement. There's all these things they got to remember. So if you just start with one little tiny thing and attach it to something you already do, like Pam said this morning, I take my vitamins when I do the begin. It's simple things like that. So us as coaches, and for those new people, work with your coach on that to try to, as James Clear talks about habit stacking. Try to get a simple habit that you're already doing and stack something that you want to do with HealthPointe, a small amount, and then just gradually you'll work up. So that's just the crux of the book. It's very, very good, and I highly recommend folks go on Amazon and order it. And like I say, it's a quick read, and I think a great introduction to HealthPointe. So
And
back to
again,
you, Eric.
it's called Small Habits, Big Results. And who is the author again?
It's Evan, Evan Schleis, Schleis.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Love it. One of the, like you said, sometimes having those, books that don't look so large and kind of intimidating. So great, great stuff. And so essential for HealthPointe for sure. Well, guys, so great to be back. Again, we missed last week, but it was great connecting with so many people in person, of course. And we'll put a wrap on this episode here on January 17th. And looking forward to next week, next Saturday, same time, same place. Thank you, everyone. Who knew we were going to learn so much about edamame beans? Yay. So fun. But until next time, same place. Bye-bye.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Have a great
Bye.
weekend and
Bye.
week.